topic is compiler versus interpreter. In the previous lecture, you have learned about high-level languages. Some are compiler-based, some are interpreted, and some are hybrid. So you have already got introduction to what does it mean by compiler and interpreter. Now we will understand their working and we see the difference between compiler and interpreter. So we'll learn about these two things in this lecture. So in this lecture, the key points that we are going to discuss is we will see translation methods. What are the methods of translation from one language to another language? Actually, there are two methods of translation. One is compiler, other one is interpreter. Both are the methods of translation, but different methods of translation. That's what earlier we saw compiler and interpreted languages, but they are two different approach of translation. That's what we will see, and also we'll compare them. So let us start. Now I have to explain you two methods of translation. So for that, I'll take one example from a natural language. So let us say this is a Chinese recipe. Means what? Steps or set of instructions for preparing a dish. Set of instructions for preparing a dish. So just like a program will also have set of instructions for performing some computation task. But here I am taking a similar example that preparing a dish set of instructions. Now, this recipe is in Chinese language. And a lady want to prepare that dish. She want to prepare that dish. But her language is English. She don't understand Chinese. That's what the problem we are facing. The same thing. We know English language. Machine understands zeros and ones. We need some translator in between. Yes, there are two methods of translation. That's what we are going to understand. What are those two methods? Let us see. Now for preparing a dish, we need a translator in between. Now I'll hand over this recipe to him. He will translate and prepare a English version of that recipe. He will prepare English version of that recipe on a separate piece of paper. So he is a compiler. Actual recipe is in Chinese, but he has translated and written an English version. And when this is translated, it is handed over to this lady. Now this lady can follow that English instructions and prepare that dish. This is one method of translation. Now if you observe this once again, Chinese recipe translated in English. Now she is having English version with her now. Now whenever she wants, she can prepare a dish. So she is having an English version. She doesn't have to worry about that Chinese version at all. Suppose that was the book she was having already. She can keep it aside. Now always she can use this English version and prepare that dish. Yes, this is one method of translation from one language to another language. We'll make a separate copy in a new language, another language, translated language. So this is one method. Oh, is there and one more method? Yes, one more method is there. Watch that. Translation. Now a lady want to prepare that dish. Her language is English. This is in Chinese. She doesn't know Chinese. Now, but her friend knows Chinese. She will call her friend and she will help reading this Chinese recipe and translates to her, and she will follow those steps and prepare the dish. So this lady is a interpreter. What's the difference? This is compiler, that's interpreter. Difference, if you observe, he is preparing a separate English script. She is not preparing any script. Directly reading the instructions and translating to her. And she is simultaneously preparing it. Here she was not preparing until he has finished translation. Now he will hand over that paper or English version. Now she can follow it always. But here if you see, whenever she wants to prepare a dish, she has to call her friend to help her. And while translation only she will be preparing. She will say that put this one or boil this one or cut this one or bake this thing, whatever the steps are. She will tell the steps and she will follow the steps. So there the translation as well as preparation both are going simultaneously. Here first the translation is comfortably done, fully completed, then preparation is done. First complete translation done, then preparation started. So let us see the compare. We will compare these things. This is the compiler method and this is the interpreter method. Let us see. Here, one time translation. Do you think she has to get it translated every time? No. She has an English copy now. So translation was done only one time. But here, how many times translation has to be done? Every time she has to prepare a dish, she should call a friend. She will translate and she will prepare a dish. So if n time she is preparing a dish, n time translation is done, or every time translation is done. So here I say n time translation is done. Now, second difference. This person is preparing a separate copy of a recipe in English version. Yes, copy of recipe in English. But there the recipe still remain in Chinese only. There is no English copy. Just verbally, orally she was translating. It was not written. So this is recipe is still in Chinese. Now, next point is preparation started after the translation was completed. But there the preparation is going on as the translation is continued. She is translating and she is preparing. So both are going hand in hand simultaneously. So this is preparation after translation. This is preparation while translation. Now next point, if you observe, we are looking at the differences. One more difference. Here this person has done the translation and given a copy. Now she don't need that person anymore now for that particular recipe. So independently she can prepare a dish. Now this lady is dependent on that one, her friend. Always she need her for translation to prepare a dish. So one thing, she has to prepare just one bowl for herself and she has to prepare two bowls, one for herself and friend also. Yes, dependent on her. Dependent. So this preparation is independent. Preparation is with the help only. Now one last important key point. If suppose there is some problem in the recipe, something he is unable to understand or something is misprinted or erased, then he cannot translate at all. He'll say, no, I can't translate at all. You can't start preparing the dish. But here she started translating. At one point she could not find what is this. At that point the preparation stops, halts. So till there they have done the preparation of a dish. Partial preparation was done. So here, if there are any errors in the recipe, no translation, but here partial preparation till you reach the error. These are the differences between these two translation methods, and I am calling them that this is a compiler and that's the interpreter. Same thing you will find in the programming languages also. If you have understood this example, you have understood what is compiler interpreter languages also. So let us clear this and see this same thing using programming languages. Suppose here I have a C language program. C language compiled or interpreted, it's compiler base. You have a .c file. .c file, this is the source code of C. Source code of C program. And you compile it. So when you compile, compiler will give you another file that is machine code in binary form. It will convert the source code into machine code. It gives a separate file. So machine code file it will give. Like the compiler was giving a English version of a recipe. So here it gives the machine language file separately, and that you can execute it on the machine. So this translation is done here. Now if you see the interpreter now, this is a JavaScript program. This is the source code. This is the source code. Where it will run? It will run inside the browser. So browser provides an environment for running the JavaScript. So browser is nothing but an interpreter. So browser will translate that JavaScript code and keep on executing it. So it will not prepare a separate file. It will read the line of JavaScript and translate and execute it. Translate and execute it. Translation and preparation. Translation and preparation. Same way it will execute. And the code is not converted into machine code. Still in source code only. Have you ever done inspect element inside the browser. Have you seen the source code in the browser? If you see the source code, you can see the code that is having HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Yes, you can see the JavaScript there. So it's running inside the browser and the code is not machine code, it's in the same source code form. That's it. So this is the interpreter, this is compiler and this is interpreter. This is how the languages are. So interpreted languages runs inside the interpreter directly. Compiler based languages, they will have separate machine code file that directly file will execute. It's independent of the compiler. So compilation is done only once. Interpretation is done every time. Whenever you want to run that JavaScript program, every time browser will translate it and execute it. Every time it will translate it and execute it. And that to line by line. Line by line means what? Every line is translated and executed. Translated and executed. That is the meaning of line by line. Now, let us compare them. Same thing, same comparison. Here the translation is done how many times? Only one time. Here, as many times you want to run that JavaScript in the browser, every time translation has to be done. So, n time execution, n time translation. Now here, separate machine code file is generated, executable file is generated. So, a file of machine code is generated. But here, still is in the source code only. Same source code will run. No separate file is created. Then here, the execution is done only after translation. Here, execution is done simultaneously. Translation and execution is done. Same way, that lady you have seen, who friend was translating and she was preparing the dish, same way it happens. So this is the browser is nothing but the friend of that lady and execution is done simultaneously. Recipe is in JavaScript. Now, independent execution. You don't need a compiler every time. One time you have compiled, now you can smoothly run the program. You don't have to translate it once again. Here every time you have to run it, and always your JavaScript program runs inside the browser. It cannot run independently. So it runs inside browser and browser provides runtime environment. So it runs execute inside a runtime environment. And the last thing, if there are any errors in your C program, it never get compiled. JavaScript, it will run to the point where there is an error. If there is a 10-line program, the error is in 10th line. 9 lines it will execute and in 10th line it will stop. So here, if errors, no compilation. Here, partial execution till you reach the error. That's it. These are the differences between compiler and interpreter. You must know these differences, how they work, their working is different, approach is different. Though finally the results are same, both the program execute and give you the result, whether it's compiler based or interpreter based. But usually interpreter based languages are slower because they run inside some runtime environment. They run independent. And these are difficult to run that are easy to run. Interpreted languages are easy to learn. And they are mostly scripting languages and special purpose. These are general purpose languages. Now Python is having both, and Python is general purpose because Python is hybrid. Usually we call Python as interpreted only mostly, but actually it's hybrid. So that's how it is general purpose. So that's all we have discussed, the differences between these two. That's all in this lecture. We will learn more key concepts in the next lecture.